Good evening and welcome to Real World News TV. I'm your host, RWN-TV, and joining me this evening are my cohorts in crime, Reggie Kearney and Derek Terry, and of course our illustrious and beautiful producer, Tony Breedlove. Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Good.
Peace and blessings. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
What's up?
I see everybody's got a very high energy level tonight.
Homecoming weekend. Sorry, I'm still a little exhausted. I'm still feeling it.
Yeah, I'm tired, but I'm trying to fake it. That's what we do. That's what we do. So as Tony mentioned during her promo, we're going to try to cover a couple of different topics tonight. Of course, it depends on how heated we get under each topic. One will be about Tulsi. How do you pronounce her last name?
Gabbard.
Gabbard. Okay, I always want to give it a hard G. And whether or not she is a Russian troll, a Manchurian candidate, or just another victim of foreign influence and misinformation. The next topic would be, where have all of our leaders gone? In the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we had a number of political advocates in our community who were extremely vocal in radio, news, print, marches, you name it, they were there. They were somewhat vocal during the Obama administration, but they seem to have all but disappeared during the Trump administration. I'm hoping that we might be able to discuss amongst ourselves why that might be the case. And then lastly, if we can get to it, what are our, I guess I'll use the word predictions, for the future of this country? If Trump wins a second term or if he doesn't, where do we see this country going? If he doesn't win, how do we regain our status on the international scale and reestablish ourselves politically? How do we reclaim our souls? So which one would you like to start with this evening, guys?
It's on you.
Good times.
Don't sound so enthused.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Are you watching the game too, Reggie?
It's on you.
Didn't answer the question. Did you see that, Tony?
You for
I did.
spectating, Mike.
Just wanted
All
to know if you were looking at the Washington Nationals game that
You can
happened
go
to be
anywhere
on
you wanna
45,
You can go anywhere you want to go. I'm in here.
although we live in D.C.
Maybe we should talk about multitasking tonight. Maybe that should be our topic.
Yeah, we can do that too.
All right, so first, since I think Tony and Reggie might be able to offer some opinions about this, where have our leaders gone? Yeah. Well, you're busy. I figure you'll be paying attention to the game, so, you know.
I heard that.
Yeah, okay, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. So where do you think our leaders have gone? You know, Tony, when we talked about the topic, you posted some interesting YouTube pieces of Cornel West and others speaking. There was one that you showed with Cornel West on the Laura Ingram's show, which really rubbed me the wrong way on so many levels.
I know.
So many levels. I can understand wanting to be all peace, love, and granola, but calling this woman who is literally given the sea Kyle on a stage a sister, I have a problem with. And I have a bigger problem with that than that brother who hugged Amber after the court case. Seriously. But
The 18-year-old? Was he 18?
who?
The brother.
See, this is what happens when you call yourself multitasking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'll chime in. Where our
On
leaders
what?
are. I'll be perfectly I'll be perfectly honest. I don't put a lot of stake in these so-called leaders because for me, I know I'm self-motivated. I don't need for them or anyone else to be a voice for me. When something goes down in the world, I'm not looking for the Sharptons or the Crumps, you know, the attorney, or I forgot his name now. I have to forget it just like that. But I don't necessarily look for them to be the voice. And the reason I say that, because when you start looking for them to be the voice and they're not there, then you're telling, not saying you personally, but we're saying that these are the only ones that can speak. I'm saying we are naturally born leaders. We don't necessarily have to lead on the national level, but believe me, there are leaders in every local level. And unfortunately, we don't control the media. So when there are things going on in the community, unless they're tied to CNN or MSNBC, they're not going to be aired unless it's on the local level. So yes, it's nice to hear from them, but what are they going to say that I haven't already heard? I don't need to hear from them every time something comes up. I
Well,
don't
here,
need them to voice
let
an
me
opinion.
let me put it this way. You know, it'd be nice if we could. Let's see, what's a comparison? I guess a comparison I could make would be like a room full of old white men making decisions on women's reproductive issues, right? It's nice to have a woman at the table. I don't need one there because I'm capable of making my own decisions with, you know, within the parameters of whatever laws exist in my state, but it's nice to have representation. I'm not suggesting that I was never a Sharpton fan to begin with, but I'm not suggesting he is my personal voice, God and Savior, but not seeing that representation of intellectualism, of any kind of discussion on an active level, not seeing anybody lambast him for, we're talking about Trump or this administration, for the atrocities that have been going on over the last 3 years that have directly impacted our community. It troubles me not to see it. And when you see how vocal they were when Obama was president, they had no problem, bless you, calling him out on things that they didn't agree with, rather than supporting him and lending their aged wisdom to him. It almost seemed like there was a little bit of haterism going on because they had invested so many years in the fight for social justice, putting aside any kind of skepticism on whether or not at the time it was truly altruistic or not. But you don't see them having the same fervor and speaking out against what Trump and his administration has been doing as much as you did when Obama was president. And that I take issue with.
And I think part of it, and I don't know if they speak out or not, but you got to understand is that the media, like when you look at the CNNs, whatever, they typically will want them on the show. So you have so many people that pretty much are saying the right things when it comes to opposition to the current POTUS. But when you look at black leaders, they're very, very selective on who they put on the show. Like I look at it like this: the ones that, well, I worry about the ones they don't put on there for a reason, like Joe Madisons of the world. They're not going to put them on there because Joe Madison's very thorough. He's very knowledgeable. You look at Roland Martin, very thorough, very knowledgeable, but they don't want them on there because when they speak to you, they're speaking to you. They're not trying to go above your level or below your level. They're right at your level. When you listen to West, he's talking like, for real, I got to Google every word that you say because you want to throw all this stuff in there.
See, I never got that from Cornel West. I think that he was held up on a pedestal that I did not agree with out of the gate. Now, I've never found that I didn't understand what he was saying outside of.
I understood, but when you're talking, I understood, but when you're talking to, when you're having a conversation, say at a sports bar, are you like, what, man, just speak, I don't need to hear all them big words make yourself sound good, sound educated.
But I think, you know what? Okay, so
I can't agree with that. It's not you're educated. You sound educated. That's just.
But and that's where I was going, Sharon, because I think that it is so of us to, when we have a conversation with someone of color who is educated, that we tend to say, just, dumb it down, talk regular.
I didn't say dumb it down. I didn't say dumb it down.
You didn't have to.
That's basically what happens.
What I'm saying is,
just talk regular. He is talking regular. He just happens to be educated, highly educated.
I'm highly educated, but I'm thinking, okay, do I really need to say, okay, how many 3-4 syllable words can I put into a sentence today? Do I want to say that, do I want to sit here and say, you know what, for us to have a genuine conversation and disseminate information? Or do I want to say, hey, for us to have a nice conversation and give people the information? Same thing. It's the same thing.
I think I'm going to have to.
I like to hear him speak, even though I don't agree with the way he's been
we have language. Yeah, we have language.
But my thing is, are we equating our leaders by either the level of education,
No.
or are we equating our leaders by how much media attention they get over a course of their lifetime? Because, like I said, leaders, I don't put a lot of stake in, and put it like this. I, for one, when something happens, I'm not going to turn TV and say, where are they all, Al Sharptons and all that? I'm not waiting to listen to them. I'd rather listen to somebody who actually were in the community. A lot of times, if something, say, happens in Baltimore, I'm like, how Al Sharpton get here? So what, he just fly dry? Why do we need to hear from him?
Well, look, I think we're slightly missing the point here. I'm not saying necessarily that we agree with them or that we necessarily hold them on a pedestal, but we are talking about a group of people who for a number of years, some decades, were extremely vocal, and suddenly they're not. They're not dead. So my question simply is, what happened?
Well, maybe they're not resonating with the young crowd.
They're not trying.
Maybe, yeah, and that could be the thing too.
And honestly,
So,
Sharpton used to he used to make his own publicity. Not that I like him personally, but you know, in the 80s, you know, it's not like our representatives were getting invited on TV every single day. They made their publicity. That aside, though, I find it very disconcerting that we don't have. Sorry, that's a multi-syllable word. I know how you hate those. All right, I find it. I get vexed. Okay,
Was that a finger, Reggie?
I get vexed when I don't see more people speaking out and speaking up, whatever the issue is.
is Reggie there? Let's hear from Reggie.
So
Knocking on the
stop,
screen.
Derek. So Brian Chacon out of Philadelphia, filmmaker, Brian Chacon.
Brian,
He basically has said that Cornel West has become a huge disappointment.
yeah,
Would you agree with that?
I would.
Hey, for me, just the same. I've never really been a big fan.
Mhm.
That's just me. You know, I've never been a big fan, so I'm not gonna say he's not. I guess enlightenment nor disappointed. It's just him. You know, I could take it one way or the other. So
There was always something about him that just smacked of capitulation. Oh,
There it goes again, that big word.
And help it.
They Google that real quick.
It is what it is. I don't know how else would you say that.
I'm just kidding. But
I hear it.
Don't change your vocabulary for me.
It is a bone of contention for me. But so we will put that as Reggie. Have you what? Are you here? You got a comment?
Yeah, I'm just listening.
Well, we're inviting you to comment.
Yeah, please do.
So that way Derek can watch the game.
I think one of the things y'all fail to realize and like I said, you all are part of a younger generation as opposed to me. There's always been a spokesman in the community that has spoken out on issues that have taken place in the community. Even though Travis and Cornell didn't do a good job at speaking out on issues, there's always been someone who's always come out and spoke on issues. Now, granted, with this age of technology and things and the speed of news getting to the communities, you might not, in a sense, you might need someone to bring you up to speed on what's going on. But I still think you need a point person in the community to speak on issues of what's going on around you, okay? Whether if you're in Baltimore, Tucson, or whatever, there's a need for people to speak up. Now, one of the things I noticed this past weekend in the conversations, and we might be pulling away from that point where individuals are speaking up for the African American community, which I still think is needed. There was some controversy in Dallas, Fort Worth area concerning surrounding the death of the young lady who was killed by the officer in Fort Worth. The film was supposed to have been last Thursday, I believe, last Saturday or Thursday, whatever day, I think Saturday at the Potter's house, T.D. Jakes Church, which was going to be basically, civil rights leaders, people of that nature, participating in the funeral. The father got involved got an injunction, and the funeral was put off until a later date, which I think is this week. I think it is this Thursday. But, semantics. The father wanted to focus on her life as a um, caring person that worked in the community to support different organizations. Okay, he really didn't want to focus on the negativeness around her death when it comes to dealing with the Fort Worth police officer and the civil rights issues around it. Okay, he wanted to focus on the good that she did. And I thought about it at the time I was listening to him speak, and I also viewed the interview on YouTube. There's a shift taking place out there, okay, where people really are getting so numb to what's going on, they really don't want to even hear about it no more. And they don't want their loved one to be the rallying cry around what goes on or jumpstarting issues that need to be addressed in the African American community or any community, okay? So I was very taken back by that shift that the father didn't want to have nothing to do with the civil rights movement or anything that might help move the community along when it comes to the Fort Worth Police Department. But I'm still thinking that we do need to hear voices in the community that motivate us and drive us to take action. Okay. Wait, let me just say one more thing. Then you can. We here on this show are a small voice in the world that can affect change. Okay. And basically, we're doing the same thing. We're bringing our opinions and thoughts to the community to let them know how we feel about a certain situation. Then whether that drives a person to take action, we don't know. But we're basically doing the same thing.
Yeah, I remember in the 80s. I remember in the 80s seeing Sharpton invite himself to the doorstep of families that had experienced tragedy, and I used to say to myself that, God forbid, something happened to one of my loved ones and he showed up, I wouldn't want him there. I respect the family's decision to hold the funeral and the wake as sort of sacrosanct and to let that be a celebration of her life. Maybe following that, after that, a week after that, perhaps, you know, having, allowing leaders in the community to stand up and make comments about it, because it is something that, while it affected the family, does affect the community at large. But I respect the father's wish to do that, because you don't want his daughter's story to get lost and the only narrative of her life to be the travesty. So I can respect that. But the issue I have with these leaders who've disappeared is they spent years telling us that they were our leaders. They did, and the media did. So in part, I blame the media for kind of telling us who our leaders are. But at the same time, these people were their own barkers, and they sold themselves as heroes of the civil rights movement, as people who were going to ride and die until we got where we needed to be. And here, when we have the worst administration in my lifetime, at least, zip, nothing. They've just gone away, you know. And I find that interesting. And
I guess for me, you have leaders, and then you have quote unquote national spokesmen. Like I said, I didn't grow up idolizing or expecting any one person to be my voice on my behalf. Your best advocate for anything is yourself. When I look at it, you know, I didn't live in Alabama all my life, but my family's from Alabama, and you know, although people give a lot of props to Martin Luther King Jr. when it comes to Birmingham, it was you know, the Reverend Shuttleworth who had more emphasis on the leadership of what's going on in Birmingham during that time. Not Martin Luther King Jr. And people would think that, but it really wasn't him. It was the Shuttleworths, the Medgar Evers of the world, and things like that, because they, you know, they focus on their community. Now, when going back to the young lady who unfortunately was shot by the policeman, when I respect the father's decision, because at the end of the day, the funeral was about this young lady who lost her life. It's not about having people come there and speak that she probably never knew ever. I mean, just never knew. And they're getting on the mic talking about the injustices when they didn't even know the young lady. So, you know, if I happen to pass away, I don't want a total stranger talking about me based on an incident that happened. I want people who actually knew me to talk about me. Don't make it about the incident. Make it about the positivity or the positive things that happened in my life. And no, because you can't dwell on what happened because that's not going to bring the person back. But whether or not these leaders come or they go, I think the primary focus is really, to me, is local. Because when you centralize your leadership within your locality, to me, it starts a domino effect where you can spread it to other communities. You don't have to sit there and rely on this one person or these 2 or 3 people to be the so-called leaders. The media ordained them leaders. I never ordained them as leaders. They're just people who spoke.
I don't disagree with you. Well, we're speaking, all right? And if somebody invited us on a larger platform to continue speaking, we would accept that invitation because we all here believe in the message that we are as a group and individually trying to spread. And you get a larger and larger platform and so on and so on. But I don't disagree that it's important to focus on the community level and it's important to recognize you have your own voice. But let's acknowledge the fact that times are very different now than they were 20 years ago. The 2016 election proved the impact that social media has on the information that's being spread and pulling at people's emotional heartstrings and getting them to move one way or the other. And if we don't ensure that we also have a voice at that table on a larger scale, we're behind the 8 ball. And come on, we know most people aren't going to take advantage of their own personal power. They're not going to take advantage of their voice and use it. They're not going to become leaders in their communities. If they were, things would be very different right now. Most people, unfortunately, seem to be happy being led. I'm not making a judgment call on that because, look, not all people are born leaders. Some people are born followers, and that's okay. But they need somebody to follow in that instance. Otherwise, they're just shuffling around mindlessly and not really accomplishing anything. So I do think, like Reggie said, it is helpful to have that starting point, that kernel of sand in the clam that's going to make the pearl, to get things moving, to propel things with some forward momentum. Otherwise, we're just some people in a room, shouting at each other, not getting anything accomplished. Look at what happened with the Black Lives Movement. There was no leadership with that. It was just a phrase on a T-shirt, and you had people wearing that T-shirt all over the country, and you had the right-wing media making it sound like it was an organized group, but it really wasn't, not at that time. And it could have been, and it should have been. And if it had had stronger leadership, if they had formed themselves with a formal 501c3 or whatever at that time, I don't know if they've subsequently done that, it could have turned into a real movement. But it needed that impetus. It needed that push. And usually that comes from a leader.
And let me just say this. If it hadn't been from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we wouldn't be here right now having this conversation, okay? Because he came at a time when there was a need for a voice in the country to reckon with the crap that was going on during that time. So if he hadn't come along, to be the spokesperson that he was, we wouldn't be here now, because nothing would have changed.
And just to add to that real quick, that leader serves as an example that inspires other people to become leaders. So it's not like they're just a shepherd that comes along and moves everybody else around. That leader shows other people that it's possible to have a voice, that it's possible to be active.
I know for me, I would have
in 2 seconds. I just want to let you guys know that we have a young lady who is watching us on Watch Party, who is of information regarding Tatiana, the young woman that was killed in Fort Worth, and she's willing to come on and share with us. So I'm just waiting for her to go to Real World News here on Facebook so that I can post the link so she can join us in this discussion, maybe clear up some things regarding what is going on with that case. And I got this hair that's sticking out.
Why are we waiting on that? Because I wanted to touch on what Reggie said. I have to, I guess, partially disagree, because when you said if Martin Luther King Jr. had not done what he did with leader position, we simply do not know that, because had he not been there, somebody else would have been there to fill the void. There's always somebody there to fill the void. So to say that if he hadn't done it, somebody else wouldn't have done it, it's like saying if Medgar Evers wasn't here, nobody would do what Medgar Evers does. If you go back, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, there's always somebody who has done something to make the way for somebody else. When that one person doesn't make the way, somebody else steps up. There are natural born leaders. No one is going to sit here and say, I wonder if Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is going to come into the picture. No, if he didn't come into the picture, somebody else would have came into the picture. So to say that if he didn't do it, it wouldn't happen, we don't know. Well, but you just simply do not know. It's like Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks wasn't the first person who didn't get up from her seat. That I can guarantee you. She was not. She wasn't. But guess what? People thought she was. They thought she was. And like I said, Shuttleworth was in the picture before King in Birmingham. So wait,
you're saying you had a leader who inspired a future leader? You're just making my point.
No, what I'm saying is that if he wasn't in the picture, somebody else would have been there, is what I'm saying. I'm saying there's always going to be somebody to fill the void. The question we have is who's going to fill the void now?
Well, we've had a void for a very long time.
I don't think we had a void. It's just been local. That's the thing. Everything has been local. With the advent of social media, you can go on here and make a name for yourself and be a leader just through social media.
Okay,
I haven't traveled every city in the world, but most of the travels I've done in the past year, there's always a leader within the locality. Remember, issues sometimes are global. Issues are sometimes centralized on the specific city, county, state that you're living in. You don't necessarily need a national leader to solve a local problem.
But many of our problems are national.
Yeah, but you're gonna say that someone locally cannot address what's going on in their community, and from there it goes out.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you look at what happened in Fort Worth was a local problem that is also a national problem. Mm-hmm. But there's some police departments that are way less corrupt than others that don't have those issues.
All right.
We're fortunate in Charles County. We don't have that issue of just, I haven't known it since I've been here of a sheriff going in or anybody just shooting somebody just because.
Knock on wood. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, knock on wood. Mm-hmm. So that's the point that I was trying to get at, is that it's just because, and believe me, I give mad kudos and much respect for my dear fraternity brother. But if he wasn't there, somebody else would have been there to fill the void. We simply just can't say if he wasn't there, we wouldn't be here. We have no idea. We just don't. But somebody would have filled the void, because you only can oppress or shackle people for so long before they revolt.
Well, don't talk about that, because next thing you know, Reggie will be taking out the matchsticks again. So,
I don't want to mispronounce his name. Shalama. I can see him before I bring him on. Just give me a nod.
Okay.
But go ahead, Reggie. I'm gonna bring him on after you make your point.
Oh no, I was wondering where he is, because I want to hear his point on the issue of Fort Worth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. There you are.
We got a mic. We got a hell mic.
This
look bad. We just using using the laptop speakers.
With blue lighting and everything.
So introduce yourself to everybody.
Can
Go ahead.
y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if y'all can hear me pretty good. I'm sorry about that.
We hear you fine.
So go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody. Tell them who that is with that great smile.
I got a green screen. Hey, my name is Shalama, and I've been following the story a little bit. I know that Lee Merritt had posted. I know Lee Merritt had posted up a. I know.
That's okay. Keep going. You've got a delay, but
okay. I hear feedback for some reason.
Okay.
So anyway, like I said, he had posted a GoFundMe up for $250,000, and I know that there was controversy with the father and the aunt on the situation, and he hold her as a under his I guess beneficiary insurance or whatever. So he's really in charge of the funeral arrangements. But from my understanding, is the aunt, the other part of the family, aunt wants to run the show, and so he said no. So the court he had talked to the court. Okay, no, he's like the legal of her. So he said, cause remember in the interview, he said he was gonna pay for the funeral. So that was controversial. So they had to put a delay on the funeral anyway because of that. But what I like about Lee Merritt Lee Merritt, the attorney, he did such a great job. He explained why he put the 250,000 GoFundMe campaign up, and this was smart what he did because I never thought about this until he mentioned it. He's very smart. He said the reason he put that $250,000 GoFundMe up, he said he didn't get none of this. This is nothing's coming attorney fees. It's on his page. He said this is go to the family, but traveling expenses and funeral, whatever they want to do with it. He said because he didn't want them to settle out for what happened. Because when you sell out, you put what they do is that you can't say nothing about it. Like a lot of people take the payoff. So once they do that, if you allow the city to settle, then you have to shut up about it for good. So
okay.
I thought two NFL players were paying for the funeral expenses.
No, it was an NBA player.
Well, two NBA. I'm sorry, we're paying for the funeral expenses.
Well, they probably is, but like I said, it's still up to the father though. Cause even though if they can volunteer to pay that, which is good. But I'm just saying, as far as that setbacks, the father,
he has final say.
He's in control, and the aunt wants the other part of the family wants to control the thing, but he says now he's controlled. But he said he won't pay him. Now he may accept they offer. I don't know, but I do know that $250,000 is put up for the family to do what they want to do, whether for kids or whatever. And I think it's a good idea because if they settle out, like a lot of people take a payoff, then they can't speak about their story and they can shut it up and close it out like they did a lot of other people.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So with what you know so far about this case and the family and how everything is now starting to play out, and now that it's part of the legal system where there's some legal ramifications in there, is there any indication as to how long this legal battle will go on and what will then be the standing of the aunt if it doesn't turn in her favor?
Well, for my understanding is since he is the father and not the aunt, so he's the direct parent of it. I don't think he can prove, and he have proof of there's really nothing the aunt can really do about it if he's the beneficiary or whatever of his daughter.
Now, how long do you think that they're willing to keep this battle going? Because even though that you say that the father has all legal standing as to what her final interment will be, there's still this legal issue that hangs in the balance. Does that mean that there's still going to be this delay in putting this young woman to rest?
I don't think it's gonna be no. Most black people, how we do. We ain't gonna have no. Normally, we don't have no funeral within 3 days. We have funeral within 3 days. Anything more than 7 days. Like white people, I don't think that it's gonna take that long to put that to bury anybody. That'll be real silly. Or as far as legal issues goes, if he have the final say, which I'm sure he does. He's been in her life ever since.
Yeah.
It don't matter what they say legally, he gonna have the overruling.
Wow.
That's how that would really work though. And I got this information from Cheryl Dorsey. I'm supposed to be interviewing her real soon. She used to be a former police woman. She was talking about it, and she wanted to mention it. And I'm supposed to be interviewing her real soon.
She's a great friend of ours.
Yes, yes, ma'am. So one thing I know is that a lot of times since I used to this green screen, I do interviews. I'm supposed to interview Cheryl Dorsey. She wrote a book and she been on CNN and a whole lot of things. They always ask her for questions because she wrote it. She used to be a former cop, and she know how the things work, and even with the legal issues. But, but far as a lot of time when information goes, the reason I do interviews, a lot of time I like direct information because a lot of times you gotta understand about the media. the media is more of about ratings and stirring up people. So you need to go behind what the media is saying, and well, that's why when I want information, I go directly to the sources.
Very
That's
good.
why
But I have
reach
a
out to these.
question. What has changed from the judges? The judge, I believe, 3 or 4 days ago, basically granted the father full authority. So, but the funeral itself has not been scheduled. I think there's a viewing either
Well,
tomorrow, actually maybe tomorrow.
You know how it is. Like if you have a will or something, or where he got her as under his insurance, so he carried her on the insurance, and he's been in her life forever. So if you're the father, you think if you're the direct father, you have and you still have contact with your daughter, you'll let you think your aunt gonna get the legal? I mean, that's just how the law is. You gonna think the aunt, is your aunt or outside? I mean, other siblings gonna have more to say than you as being the father, and the mom that's
No,
still alive. The
typically it's
mom
the
is
next
sick.
of, typically
The
it's the
mama's
next of kin. She wasn't married, right?
No.
So it would
the
be
mother the
legally, it
mother's
would
sick.
be although
The mother,
legally the father be the only one competent enough to do it. So the sister
right,
would have no legal grounds either way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
right. The aunt,
It would.
right,
Right.
exactly. He
So,
does.
wow. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And we will make sure to tell Cheryl hello as well.
Okay.
And she's been on our show quite a bit. And I do wish you all the very best of getting that interview down with Miss Cheryl Dorsey. And tell her we said hello as well.
Oh,
Okay.
I will. I didn't know y'all knew her, but I will. I just reached
All
out to her.
right. All right.
Thank y'all for allowing me to come on Real World News TV.
Absolutely. Good
really
luck to
appreciate
you,
it.
sir.
Thank
Good
All right,
luck.
thank you. All right, bye.
Bye.
So we have 15 minutes, give or take, for the rest of the show. And 2 other topics that we were going to try to cover. I didn't think we'd get to all of them. But what is your take on the whole discussion now about Tulsi Gabbard? How do you say her last name?
Gabbard.
Gabbard. The notion that she may or may not be the next like Trump 2.0 that's being supported by the Russian trolls.
Well, today, after doing some research and reading up on the topic and everything, it all centers around Facebook, okay, and social media, okay. Not directly that she's going to go directly to the Russians and say, help me.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about those bots that the Russians will be using to influence our thinking in the upcoming election, okay? Influencing people to make donations to a campaign, whether they're legal or illegal. It's just about influencing, okay? And the conversation is that with some of the disagreements she's had with the quote unquote higher ups in the Democratic Party, that she would be a perfect target for targeting those bots and swaying public opinion towards her, in a sense, making her seem like a third party candidate. And she's already had some controversy. Even last week with the debates, she stated it was just a show, a show for the networks and the Democratic Party. So I mean, she's already put herself out there that way. Okay, so I think it's gonna be, if you really watch it and watch her Facebook page, look for the influencers that are really putting out messages to the community on why they should support her.
Well, you have to understand that she's not put in this position to win. She's put in this position to distract, sort of like a Ross Perot, to be the one that ruins the chance for a Democratic candidate to get elected. The other thing we have to look at, and for those that are listening or watching, is that the Russians targeted a majority of African Americans, which means that as African Americans, we need to educate ourselves on the candidates and stop believing all that bullshiggity, and do your own damn research. Because I don't necessarily listen to Washington Post and the Breitbarts and all this other stuff. I do my own research on the candidate, and that's what you have to do. Anything that's contradictory to what you research makes you like, what the? So if you already have in your mind who you're going to vote for, barring some criminal investigation or some scandal or a bad choice of words, which could happen, then you pretty much should know who you're going to vote for. Now, if you're undecided, don't allow Facebook or social media to choose your candidate. This particular lady, if it's the case that the Russians are using her, they're only using her to take away some of those votes from whoever the Democratic candidate would be. We don't know technically right now who the Republican candidate is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, it's anybody's race.
And
I prefer Democrat
yeah.
or strong independent who was a Democrat, but I'm gonna, 99.9% of the time, I'm gonna pick the best Democrat that's in line with my needs.
It's
because
really
there's 19 out there, I guess, right? 19 or 20,
17, I think,
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you're gonna pick who you're gonna pick.
Yeah, I think the really insidious and genius aspect of the whole Russian Ukraine Facebook troll bot thing is that since they were so successful in the 2016 election, they've created an environment where you don't know any longer what information you can trust. So, while I was thinking about this, initially when I first heard of her, I liked what she was saying. But then over the last few weeks, she started using sort of Republican-esque talking points to lambast her Democratic opponents, which I don't necessarily agree with. It left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. That with the fact that she went on Fox News to speak instead of any other network at that time, that she's not really addressed the issue of how the Russian, I guess, campaign may be hijacking her online narrative to affect the Democrat, the fair election process. And then that David Duke endorsed her. I remember how long ago it was in this whole process. Now, it just makes me think about Trump in the beginning. I mean, I always knew he was a farce, and I never took him seriously. But, as the campaign moved forward, as the primaries moved forward, we kept getting these little bits and pieces of evidence that really should have informed on the debacle that we have now in his administration. So, of course, it does make me feel a little tentative and a little concerned. I will acknowledge that I haven't seen anything that's hard fact yet, but it does make me a little concerned. Now, she was never truly a viable candidate for me anyway, but it just tells you how insidious and how much of an expert these people are in PR and misinformation, in that they have taken over our social media and made us question our journalists to the degree that we do.
And to be honest with you, I don't even know if we wouldn't even know. I'm trying to figure out why did Hillary. I'm like, Hillary, okay, is it relevant right now? Is it going to change the election? If anything, you gave her more steam or more fire by coming up with such a comment, whether it's true or not.
Well, she didn't even name her. Tulsi responded to it. She called herself out. She could have just not said anything. But
well, they both could have not said anything.
Well, true, but Hillary didn't name her specifically. She said somebody. She didn't name her. And Tulsi's
but think about it. We're in the midst of a primary amongst Democrats. Either Hillary, you're in or you're out. If you're out, just stay quiet and let the other ones run the course.
Well, that's never going to happen. All past presidents and elected officials are asked to weigh in on their opinion. So it doesn't,
Obama's been pretty silent.
He's made some anti-Trump comments, and
he's talking about, but he's not talking about the candidates.
Yeah, no, or he hasn't been asked yet.
No, he's been asked. His position is he's not going to say anything until after the primary because it caused divisiveness.
Oh, we have plenty of that in spades. Reggie, what do you think?
Well, it's going to be a big issue. The Russians are going to definitely influence this election coming up. I mean, we just have to be leery of what we read on social media.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got to be smart enough not to buy into the untruths that are going to be posted on Facebook concerning her and the other Democratic party members, because that's what they want to do. They want the black vote to stay at home.
That just tells you how powerful we are, that they are so focused on us.
How about this? How about we start a campaign, once a week social media before the primary. You only go in there once a week.
I'm sorry, what?
Now, basically, you go there once a week. They come every Tuesday at 8:30 Eastern time to hear us. Just come on every Tuesday.
But ignore it every other day of the week.
Yeah, just pick one day out of the week. But think about it. If people were to say, you know what, I'm only going to use social media one day a week.
Yeah, but we don't have the luxury of doing that. Every once in a while, trust.
Yes, you do.
No, wait, listen, hear me out. I get
do.
sick of it as well. But I also feel that as one of the hosts on this show, as somebody who's talking about news and media and current events, that it's important for us to see what is going on in the social media world so that we can comment on it. I'm not saying that we're making a judgment call at that point in time if it's fact or not, but I think that we need to have our finger on the pulse of what's going on in social media because this is our platform. We can't ignore it. Tony,
but you can do once a week because I've done it. I've done it where I wasn't on social media for months.
Yeah, we saw that when we started the show, didn't we, Tony?
Oh, so you're gonna pull me into this? Thanks a lot.
How's the game?
I don't know.
Good answer. Good answer. Well, we have 10 minutes left, so maybe we can squeeze in the last topic. What do you think, Derek, is the future of this country if on one hand Trump wins a re-election, or if on the other hand he loses and we get somebody else in, whether Republican or Democrat? What do you think, if he loses, what do you think are the first 3 or 4 things that the new president must focus on to build us back up, to undo some of the damage that's been done by this administration? And if he wins, what more damage do you think he's going to do?
Well, I'll do if he wins first. Basically, this double whatever's going on right now.
We can't afford double.
I'll be honest with you because think about it. I got 4 more years. Freak y'all. I'm gonna do what the hell I want to do.
He's already doing that.
That's what I'm saying. So if he's allowed to be elected, then the American people will say, you know what? I'm okay with lower standards. I'm okay with disrespect. I'm okay with all this. And it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Now, if he doesn't win, the first thing we need to do is bring back respectability to the office. Mm-hmm. It's the first thing. Because that has been lacking. And as someone military, I hold the president at a higher standard. He's the commander in chief. So as a soldier, airman, seaman, or whatever it may be, you are looking at the commander in chief for leadership. You are to act and behave in a certain way. I look at it like a child. You want your child to act like an adult when they go. Well, you want your child to be respectful when they go to school. So if your parent is constantly cussing you out, calling you this, calling you that, disrespecting women, all that, most likely you're going to take it to school, but then you're telling them, no, you can't act like me. That's really what he's telling the military. You cannot act like me, but I can act the way in which you're not supposed to act because I can. That sets a bad example. And for anybody who is on here that's a Trump supporter, I'm telling you, as someone who's in the military, it was very, very disrespectful. There's nothing more disrespectful than to hold the highest law in the land and be the commander in chief and act in such a way. And you command people who risk their lives every day. Just like General Mattis said, I got my spurs on the battlefield. Mm-hmm. I didn't get them from a doctor or a doctor's note.
Yeah.
And for those who support him and you've never served, you have no idea what I'm talking about. And that's what you need to take to heart when you go to the polls. Because if you continue, if like this, if you ignore it, then you're part of the problem. It's that simple.
My concern, if he wins again, is that he's going to think he has carte blanche to do. Basically, the message is you can do whatever the hell you want because you got away with all this other shit over the last 3 years. That was nothing. That was child's play. Keep going. That's what that message sends to me if he wins again.
You just try to. I pray that, I don't know if it's going to work, but I pray that he gets some sense of decency. I don't know if it's going to come or not, but always look at this. Remember, the devil once was what? What was the devil before he became the devil? There was good in him. I don't know where it's at. Maybe it'll come out. Maybe it's going to take one of those life moments to say, you know what? I've seen the light. I don't know. But I pray for everyone. I don't hate anyone. I hate what they do. There's a difference. I don't hate anyone. I hate what they do.
Reggie, what do you think?
Well, I think he's going to get impeached, honestly. Because there's, in the back rooms of the Republican Party, there's a strong push to get Pence in there before the election comes around so he can be the nominee. So
part of the conspiracy.
I think he's going to be there. I think there's going to be some maneuvering. I think you're going to see Trump out of office before the first of the year,
I don't want to wait that long. Jeez,
but if he does, I don't think he's going to come back into office, but the next president is going to have to go on a tour of the world.
An apology tour.
Yeah, to gain the trust of our nations. Because right now, the United States is excuse the expression, a shithole country to the rest of the world, okay? And that's how they look at us. I mean, look what he did in Syria, okay? And look what Putin and the Turkey president did today. You take this part, I take this part, okay?
We just created a whole other generation of terrorists.
Yeah, because
and we'd have to let them do it because they're not wrong.
Yeah, and the whole world is screwed up now because of what he's doing as far as his foreign policy agenda, which he doesn't have one. So now the world's in disarray. But what's happening? The Russians and the Chinese are going to take control of this world, and we're not going to be able to get our part back later on. And that's just the bottom line.
I don't know who this. What is this? I don't know if this is a troll or you guys talking about politics. I was very confused.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell is that? Yeah.
No,
I guess it might be a Russian. It might be a Russian because they don't want to show their face. They don't want to show their name.
We're broadcasting.
They just want to put a comment out there. So
we're broadcasting
maybe they're a Russian.
Live to YouTube as well.
Maybe German. Sprechen die Deutsch? Okay. I don't know.
All right. You guys ready to wrap it up?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
All right. Any last words?
It's 2-2.
Yes, he did.
It's 2-2.
Yeah.
That's just hit a home run. As soon as you said that, boom. As soon as you said that, boom, they hit a home run.
I'm gonna write it up.
Go Nationals.
All right. So great job, you guys. As always. And I do want to say thank you to those who have tuned in and watched tonight's show. Hoping that you'll come on back here every Tuesday night. The show always starts at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 Central, and 8:30 on the East Coast. If you want to catch up on any shows that we've done in the past, any past broadcasts, head on over to our website at hottopicstalkradio.com. Also, make sure to follow Real World News TV on Facebook so that you can get all of the show information as to when the show is coming on. You'll see some of the posts, all kind of stuff. And of course, Chera is holding the Real World News TV cup mug. I don't know what's in it. So whatever is in it does not come with the mug, but you can purchase your HTTR network merchandise by
if you buy 20 mugs, I'll send you a bottle of what's in my mug.
You can head on over to hottopicstalkradio.com to purchase your merchandise. Also, I do want to say this because Chera had told me something, I think it was Chera, before we had come on air, And she said, you know what you should do? You should send Miss Jacqueline Price a t-shirt. And that's what we're going to do. So Jacqueline Price, I mean, she has been such a continued and loyal supporter to us. And she comes out and she visits me at events and all kind of different things. Ms. Jacqueline, I want you to send me your mailing address so I can make sure that a t-shirt is sent to you, hot off.
Send it on here.
Press.
Don't put it on here.
No,
Make sure she don't put it on here.
I don't want her. No, I want her to send me a message. You can send me a Facebook message with your address, and we will make sure that we get that t-shirt out to you. Okay. We love you too. So thank you, Miss Jacqueline, for all of your support and just continuing to be, I mean, she has been that ride or die with the Hot Topics Talk Radio Network. So thank you, Miss Jacqueline. What was I saying? Oh, anyway. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Make sure that you come on back here next Tuesday for Real World News TV. Hot Topics Talk Radio will not be airing tomorrow night. So I know I wasn't airing last night. I mean, last.
Man, I was gonna stay up. I was gonna stay up and watch it.
Well, you know what? I've always got other like business and stuff going on. So some nights it's just not conducive for everybody. So I'm sorry. We gotta come back the following week. So anyway, Hot Topics Talk Radio will not air tomorrow night, but we do invite you to head on over to the website, check out some of the past shows, check out the real funny ones. I'm sure you remember those. So anyway, with that being said, we wish you a very wonderful rest of your evening, a fantastic rest of your week, and a fucking bang up weekend.
Yeah, because I got next week's topic, right?
Yeah.
I got next week's topic.
Yeah.
Gonna be on fire.
What's premiering on TV next week, Tony?
I'm hoping something that really will hold my interest.
You know, I'm gonna have to try my multitasking skills next week.
All right, you guys, great show. Thanks a lot for everything that you do. I love you. Bye, everybody. Good night.
Peace and blessings.
All right. All right.
Was it off?
Get out of here, Derek. All right. So again, thank you for tuning in. We will see you back here next week on Real World News TV with Cherry Ann Tappan, Reggie Kearney, and Mr. Derek Terry. And I am Tony Breedlove. I sit in as their producer every week. So we will see you then. Okay, take care. Good night.